Sharks v the Storm. Sharks defeat the Storm 25-18. Also, some beer shout-outs. We're now available in all Mr. Liquor and Liquor Stack stores. If you're in the store and don't see a bloke on the shelf, you can ask them to order some. Harrigan's Par in Cameron Park with their footy and a fade on during the Thursday night game. $30 will get you a schooner and of Bloke and a haircut. They're also hosting a watch-along for Origin 1 in conjunction with the Mark Hughes Foundation. Legends like Danny Badiris and Mark Hughes will be making an appearance and talking all things Origin. And this Saturday and Sunday is the beer, footy and food magic round at North Sydney Oval. Bloke will be selling Bloke beer down there, so get down to watch some quality footy and enjoy a couple of cans of Bloke beer. Okay, Sharkies defeat the Storm 25-18, easily the match of the round. And you know, I saw some people trying to discount the Sharks' victory by saying Hughes wasn't there and Pappy wasn't there. You are kidding.
Hello.
You are kidding yourself.
Oh, my God.
This was exactly what the Sharks needed. Obviously, the Sharks were missing Trindle. They were missing Hynes, Toby Rudolph. Both teams were missing players. And also, look at the players the Storm still had. Munster, Grant, Fa'alonga, who arguably would be starting for the Sharkies if he was coming through there. Will Kennedy's great, but Fa'alonga's like a next superstar. So the idea that Storm didn't have a full-strength side, but the Sharks did, it's ridiculous. What an incredible win from the Sharkies. And I tell you what, this could be season-defining. It's a long year, and maybe they'll fall off a cliff. But if they keep humming along the way they are, even if they drop a few games, when they get to finals footy, they're going to know, guys, we know what it takes to beat these top-tier sides. Yes, finals footy is a different level. But I would argue that Sharks-Storm game, that was a higher standard than most other games on the weekend. That was a tier above normal NRL footy. I thought it was an outstanding game of rugby league and a great win for the Sharkies.
Yeah, definitely the highest standard game of footy on the weekend. And look, completed 82% Melbourne, 86% the Sharkies. So, look, it's not a case of the Storm beating themselves in this one. And, mate, the big storyline out of this one is they've got their scout, the Sharkies. As a team the last, 2-3 years who have just been criticised for being, relative flat-track bullies but can't beat the big teams when it matters. They've got genuine premiership contenders, the Melbourne Storm, down in Melbourne without Nicho Hynes. It is an enormous win for them. And the self-belief this will have to them, as I said, going into finals, whenever it might be, going, no, we can beat close to anyone.
A Sharks team without Hynes is getting the win in Melbourne. That's crazy. I would never. If someone said, oh, yeah, they're going to go down, even if they're missing Hughes and Pappy, if someone said the Sharks are going to go down without Hynes and beat them, I would have said, mate, the Sharks are nothing without Hynes. Like, they're not even potentially a top 8 side without Hynes.
And you look at this Sharkies team, and we bang down the door relentlessly about how well balanced they are, how deep their roster is, how much cover they have. The one spot you had question marks around is the most important, and that was what happens if Nicho Hynes is out? What happens if he misses a game? Where do they go to? Braden Trindle also out because he'd be the regular man to step into the 7. They bring in a bloke called Daniel Atkinson, former Melbourne Storm player, comes into the halves, who is a 5'8" fullback traditionally. Not do they say on relatively short notice, you'll be playing number 7, but we're also going to put a hooker in the halves with you, so you have to completely run the show against Melbourne down there.
Because the hooker's going to be playing he'll be defending at hooker, but he'll be attacking at hooker.
Yep.
Sorry, he'll be defending at half, attacking at hooker.
So you've got to be a keen attack. You've got to manage this team when your whole career you've been taught to be, essentially a second foil to an out-and-out organising number 7. Full-time siren goes, and I think he's probably the best player on the field.
Is incredible. Atkinson's performance and just the calm under pressure, because the Storm, they were trying to turn the screws. And he stayed calm, got the job done. His kicking game, outstanding. And I don't think people realise, to do that in his 4th, 5th NRL game, amazing stuff. And also, he's not even a 7. He's a friggin' 6. Yeah. And you could argue he's a ball-running 6, not even a ball-playing 6, and he got it done.
We have issues with, concerns around out-and-out number, 5'8", like Jerome Luai, like Ezra Mam, Cody Walker, saying, they probably can't go to number 7. They are number 6.
Dylan Brown.
Dylan Brown, exactly. Far more, the best 5'8" in the game. This is Atkinson, but he's done it in his 5th, 6th NRL game and done it essentially by himself.
It's amazing stuff. So really, really good win for the Sharkies. We'll get into the big calls. Obviously, I'm sure some Storm fans are sitting there going, what about the 10 in the bin from Harry Grant? look, I get the argument. If you want to try to like put that call behind, okay, we're trying to rub this out of the game. I still don't think that holds up. I still don't think that holds up because if you're trying to get rid of it in the game, it doesn't mean you need to go to the extreme of that. It doesn't mean like, surely Harry Grant, it's a penalty. People start getting the message, okay, even if you touch someone, it's a penalty. But to go from a couple of weeks ago where they were much more substantial hits to the leg to in 2 weeks later, it's 10 in the bin for not even trying to charge the ball down, just running past someone because he didn't even put his hands up. He just put pressure and ran past him. It just doesn't fly with me. It does not fly with me, this whole, we're trying to crack down. Yeah, crack down when you actually see a proper one, not a tiny nick off a guy that wasn't even trying to charge down. He just randomly ran past. He wasn't even trying to hit his leg. Silly call. The problem, though, is then so they make that call, the refs. And then what they try to do a lot of the time when they know that's a tough call, they go, you know what? We're going to blow the shit out of it and try to give Storm, like, because we feel bad, we're going to give them every 50-50 call. And so you've got Storm fans feeling like they've got dudded, but then you've got Sharkies fans also feeling like they got dudded because they're like, for the second half, we couldn't get a call. And it's just like, it turns into utter nonsense. So it was a shocking call. There's no way to spin. I don't care how you spin it. That was a shocking call, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, for the third time this season, I'm going to say it, it's the worst decision I've seen in the history of rugby league. And this one will take some unbelievable beating.
Yeah.
The only one worse is when Matt Gillett got sent 10 in the bin for the like.
That was a shocker.
But outside of that,
For being 40 metres onside.
Oh, and it just sets so firstly, as you said, Kempy, if he gets penalised for it, you're still having the same effect that they will think about it and other players will think about it next time they're going in and going anywhere near a kicker. It doesn't have to be a sin bin. Secondly, and I think Bellier touched on it after the game, what precedent does this set going forward?
Well, what's crazy is in the Roosters-Warriors game, Dylan Walker went to kick the ball and someone hit his leg and he was down for like a set. So it's like, how come he wasn't sent to the bin?
Yeah. Far more force in that one, wasn't there?
Way more. He was down injured for friggin' 4 or 5 minutes.
I thought you said potentially, you know, if we're drawing a line in the sand, that you could pass that one off as a penalty for making contact with him. I think even that was too harsh for it. I thought you could have easily
absolutely
gone, you know,
just have a chat to him.
Just careful of that, you know. But fair dinkum to get sin bin for that. And you're right, the little butterfly effect chaos theory of then all the evening up penalties that came off the back of it, it just really did kind of like change the whole game.
So Annesley's about to front the media for his Monday briefing. If he comes out and defends it, well, then the precedent's set that any time a kicker gets touched in any circumstance after kicking a sin bin, which is just going to be the biggest blight on the game, it's going to turn into a shitstorm.
But we haven't seen that all year, so why are we starting it now?
Well, it's because there's been some injuries. So you had Lockie Ilias gone, Snyder gone with injuries, hitting the leg. But then the reality of this rule, if it means any touch at all, means that kick pressure is pointless.
Yeah. You can't touch him.
You can't touch them.
Yeah.
Like, so you're basically...
Or you can touch them while they're kicking. You can touch them before they release.
Obviously before they release, but who's going to risk that?
Yeah, I know.
And also, what that kickers do, they just jump in the air when they kick. Like, the risk you face by even getting close to tackling them is just way too far.
And it's like, I get what the NRL do, and they try and make things as black and white as possible to make it easy for players, to make it easy for coaches to do it, and just more importantly for fans to understand decisions. It's not a black and white thing. You can't just go touched or not touched because it opens up too big a can of worms elsewhere. It's like, it is subjective. He touched him there. That was not a penalty. There was nothing in it. Other times they go at the legs, and it is a penalty. It changes. And so if Annesley comes out and defends it, I'm frightened as to what's going to happen for the rest of the season.
Well, because the problem is now is that even if you go in with good intentions of like, yeah, I'm charging down, but I'm like trying to get my body out of the way so I don't hit him, if you graze his leg, you're going to the bin. So why would you risk any charging down at all? Like the charge down will be gone.
Imagine, oh my God. Imagine field goals.
Field goals, that's what I mean.
Golden point.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like the charge down will be gone.
Yeah, because they got to charge them down, the best moment of the game, all on the line. I don't even know how they do it because you're almost inevitably going to touch them in some form or another.
What about that style of sin bin which you saw on the weekend? If that happened in Origin, now you compare that to Origin like 10 or 15 years ago, where it was like cattle dogs and all in brawls, and I think we all agree that probably had to come to a stop. But to fast forward to this now, and imagine someone going to the bin for touching a leg like that in State of Origin, the toughest kind of pinnacle of the game.
You know what? They wouldn't. Because
wouldn't.
they ref Origin correctly.
Yes.
I don't understand why they do this. They dig their own. It just makes no sense. It just makes. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I just think that sometimes the NRL is way too reactionary. I understand that it was a horrible injury with Lockie Ilias, and obviously Schneider gone too. I understand it. There's got to be injuries in our game. Why do we knee-jerk reaction immediately, straight away?
I hope Anthony just says, look, penalty, sure, whatever. Shouldn't have been a sin bin, and it just blows over and we move on.
Yeah.
Between that, like this sort of situation, the disruptors, the dropouts. The dropouts, just shit no one's asking for that's causing a headache for me watching the game. Like, it's just shit to watch
Just
sometimes.
leave it alone.
Seriously.
I don't understand. We got the game into such a good spot. Like, this disruptors call is arguably the worst rule implementation I've ever...
I think it is.
Seriously, because, the head high one, you go, all right, I don't agree, but we're protecting the players. That's okay. Like, even the Tom Trbojevic one, you go, oh, my God, that's such a bad call. But at least there's, some thought process behind it. It's about defending particulars. Who's getting protected and who asked for not being able to maybe dummy and with a catching of a ball? And also, the one on the weekend with Britton Nakota, how do you know he was trying to disrupt?
Exactly.
What are you talking about? He looks at the player, sees where he is, and then his eyes are on the ball the whole time. And the guy in the bunker said he jumped slightly early.
Oh.
Do you know how hard it is to judge the best timing? He's a friggin' back rower. Even wingers jump too early all the time. It's a hard... I mean, that's coming from a person, clearly, that's never had to be under a high ball for the NRL. How it's hard to time your catches. That's what makes good catches and bad catches.
Matty will tell you that from last year.
There you go. I just don't understand it. Anyway, sorry, guys. We try not to be too negative, but... It's like we shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes. We got this great product.
One more thing. Why can't you put someone off? I don't understand why this rule's in.
Yeah, I've spoken about it as well. So we can throw dummy passes. We can get lead runners that make you tackle them instead of tackling the guy at the back.
Feign a kick.
We can dummy and misdirect people in every other area of NRL, of the one playing game, but we're not allowed to dummy and throw off a guy catching a ball.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And what I don't get as well is so we made a short dropout, and part of the yarn was we want it to be more exciting. So this contest for the ball where two players are up jumping for it. But then we introduce rules that are taking away the contest for the ball by saying basically you can't put the defending player off. You've got to basically let him have it.
I die a little inside every time a short dropout that goes out is unpunished.
Grossest play ever. While we're here, I'll just get through it.
Just get done.
Okay, I got to get done. The NRL needs to start punishing clubs that intentionally give 6 agains away after their initial 6 again penalty. I'm so sick of watching that. They'll go 6 again, 6 again, 6 again real quick. You know why they do that? Because all they do is, if they slow the game down enough, these are super fit athletes. So what they've done is they've made their whole defensive line rest, and also they've gotten control of the set because it's a slow play the ball. So all the team is doing is regaining control of the set and bashing the next guy that runs the ball. We have to begin to punish people that just go, and also it's one tackle. So let's say you give a 6 again away and then you give a 6 again away again. All it is one extra tackle. But the difference is it's one extra tackle with a slow play the ball and everyone's rested. So it actually doesn't mean anything.
You shouldn't get 2 in a row. If it's a second one, just blow a penalty.
Yeah. Penalty straight away. As soon as that second one comes, boom, penalty. Which is funny because it's then we're just getting nearly back to before the 6 again.
And we said, we don't want P blowing out a whistle. It's just going around in circles, isn't it?
Well, but I think that if you give that penalty on that set, 6 again, they'll stop. Yeah. I guarantee they'll stop. There's other one, is this obstruction rule. We've got to sort that out. So 4 minutes into the second half, where Atkinson kind of gets the ball, that may be an instruction. So he gets past it, maybe an obstruction. The Storm defender He's nearly in touching distance with Atkinson, but he is so in the mind of using that rule, he stops and points to the player that may have obstructed to him, and yet he's closer to the guy that he could tackle. And this is the environment we've created by allowing people to constantly dive when they get obstructed. Like, for example, if a player runs behind someone and it doesn't affect any of the play, it should just be play on. Like this automatic, like, oh, he ran behind someone, so the play stops. I just think it's absurd. Like, and so when you're seeing players literally, they're closer to making the tackle than they are the obstruction, and he's still pointing to the obstruction. We've created an environment where we're just allowing this to happen. It's just crazy. Anyway, that's the negative stuff done. Let's get to the positive stuff. In regards to the Sharkies, we're still on Sharkies. I thought Mulatalo's big play when they needed to with that line break was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Hasn't he just had an outstanding year? Like, seriously, I still don't think he gets enough appreciation for what he does, but he has been phenomenal this year.
I think he's the second best winger in the comp at the moment. That's just my opinion. Yep.
Form-wise?
Form-wise. Toto into Ronnie, for sure.
What do you reckon about Mulatalo's performance?
Yeah, amazing. And I think he didn't score a try this week, didn't score a try the last week, and concern there was with Trindle being out, Atkinson going on the left edge. Obviously no Nicho there either this week. But my point on Mulitalo, we talk about the back three and this prototype or game plan, blueprint, that's what we're getting at. Blueprint that Penrith have set up coming out of their own end. Just these three powerhouse players who just chew through the metres. Second to none in the game. The Sharkies' back three isn't as good as Penrith's back three out in yardage coming out of their own end. But their back five, when you add Iro and Ramian into that, the metres they make, like we saw in this game, Cronulla's pack looked pretty dominant over the Storms at times because the first 2-3 tackles coming out of their own end is just these boys being relentless. Like Iro's been outstanding since he, got this extended stint in the NRL. He hasn't really had anything big in attack that he's done. It's just all through work rate and just rolling up the sleeves and taking the tough carries. Their back five are just relentless coming out of their own end.
Yeah. Oh, mate, totally agree. There's an argument they're probably the second best back five in the comp. I'd love to get the meters, actually. I'd love to find out which back five has a second, because the first would be Penrith.
What interests me though, and Penrith would be number one, but I think if you add in like Ramian and Iro, who are 150 to 200 most games, up against Taylor May and Tungo, the difference wouldn't be that much.
Actually, you know what? I reckon you'd have more. I reckon Ramian and Iro would probably have more than Tungo.
Because they'd smash them too.
So, mate, we've been saying all year they're the most underrated back five in the competition. They really, really are. They were outstanding. What I love about about the Sharkies is their ability to go, we're going to score points through the middle. Like, we're going to just bang the door down and not rely so heavily. Like last week, 3 front rowers scored their points. And I think ever since the Tigers game, they haven't relied so heavily. And we look at the Warriors and how predictable they became with the ball out the back. The Sharkies still have that. They still have that. But I think that they're actually going, no, we're not going to just rely on this out-the-back play. We can find points around the middle. We really can. And that's where it brings me to Brayley. I think he has had an outstanding year, an absolutely outstanding year. And he may be, there's a lot of people's names getting tossed up for that 9 role. Obviously, we've heard whispers about McInnes, obviously Robson, Api Coruscant. But who's to say Brayley can't be a smoky for that?
Yeah.
80 minutes, bangs it out, 80 minutes out. Easy. Like, never looks fatigued, anything. As I said, it would be a dark horse. It would be a smoky. But who's to say his name shouldn't be in that conversation?
Yeah. His durability, mate. Touch wood. I don't know the last time he was injured, but...
Never goes off.
I said 80 minutes, defend. It never looks like he breaks a sweat.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Cam McInnes, 49 tackles, 0 misses. Look, I'll be genuinely shocked if he isn't in that Origin side come game 1.
Yeah, get him in there.
Whether it's, we've heard some whispers around the 9 role or even the 14 role. I just think you've got to find a spot for him in that squad.
Yeah.
Just really, I think it's time. Because I think it's one of those things that sends a message to everyone.
Yep. He just feels like an Origin player, doesn't he? And Rue has made a good point, a very good point a couple of times about if he was a Queenslander, he probably would have played 6, 8 Origins already. Yeah, he'd be a great pick, and you could. The great thing about him is you could basically plug him in anywhere, and you know he's going to do a job.
Yeah. So yeah, great win for the Sharkies. Now onto the Storm.
I was just going to say one other one is just Talakai. And the role that he's playing off the bench. It's like such a specialised role, but 32 minutes of chaos yet again, 170 metres, a try, absolute handful. When you're talking about Origin Smokies, I wonder whether having him come off the bench in the role that he's playing at the Sharks is, I know he's been there before, but it looks like he's really specialised and honed in on playing this style of footy at the moment, and teams are really struggling to contain him when he comes on.
Haven't they just found the right balance, the Sharkies?
It's perfect.
Yeah, it is exactly what they needed off the bench.
I mentioned that pet peeve about not having the centres covered. The Sharkies have got one of the better centres in the competition last year, in my opinion, Steve Talakai, who's playing as one of the best impact forwards who can cover centre, as can Britton Nicholas. They're just covered everywhere.
Yeah, they got such a good roster.
So as a back five, Penrith do win because of Edwards and To'o. They just blow out of the water. But Iro averages 171 metres a game, Ramey 147, Tungo 133, May 115. So the centres from the Sharks blow them out. Katoa and Taruva, they're both wingers. They're the same. So, yeah, pretty good.
As in they average the same?
They average the exact same.
Yep. And how much does Mulatalo average?
Ronnie is just above. So Katoa, Ronaldo, and Taruva are all around the same, 146 to 150. Edwards, 240, ridiculous. To'o, 205. And then the Sharks centres beat the Penrith centres.
Yeah, wow. Super. Like, if you're getting even close to their numbers, that's bloody good.
Edwards and To'o doing 250 metres a game kind of makes it unfair, doesn't it?
Mental. Now, onto the Storm. I'm not too disappointed with this. Like, I really... okay, yeah, for sure. It's at home and the Sharkies, but I think people may underestimate how much better the Sharkies are as a side this year. Like, they're at the top of the table. They've been in great form. I do think that they struggled. We talked about if there is one Achilles heel with the Storm, it's just that explosiveness through the middle. I do think they struggled to handle the pace at which the Sharkies kind of won the middle to a degree. But I'm not too disappointed with the Storm. I really think that they are so reliant on having that spine together that I can only really judge the Storm as in when I talk about premierships, not when I'm talking about whether they should win matches or not, but they are so invested in Grant, Munster, Hughes, Pappy that it's like not too worried. I think it was a solid performance from Storm. Obviously, there's areas we can look at and go, yep, this could have been better. The only concern, as I said, and I think it's going to be a concern until we see finals footy, is when they play another team with that explosive forward pack that's super mobile, they can get, it's got outside backs that can just get massive roll-ons. Can their forward pack go with it? That's the big question with the Storm.
Yeah. To echo probably pretty similar to what you're saying, but I wouldn't be concerned at the Storm at all. Like, they were 7-1 coming into this. It wasn't even a down week. They were beaten by a better side on the night.
In a great game of footy.
They completed at 82%. They lost their star fullback. They lost their star halfback and game manager. Like, Munster's a freak, but, he's not a game manager. He's an erratic, jumping around, 5'8". Really, obviously missed Jerome Hughes in this one, but mate, their performance was fine, and it's been the question time and time again, and it is the middles, and they were outplayed in this one. So this is what we've seen year on year on year, and the middles have been better this year, and
much better this year.
Yeah, and nearly impossible to knock. They're 7-2 now, but against the best, like I'm looking at Penrith and I'm looking at the Broncos middles, and now the Sharkies. How are they going to go against them come finals time? Because that's where they've been well beaten in recent seasons. Has it changed that much? It's better, but...
Well, I think Katoa adds a lot, like 16 runs, 146 metres, 67 post contact. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. I think it's not necessarily about their forward pack in attack. It's actually more about their forward pack in defence in regards to like speed of the line and that. Sometimes I feel like when Sharkies outside backs turn it on, I feel like they don't get as good line speed as, say, a Penrith Panthers forward pack does.
Yeah.
But that's being super nitpicky. I thought they were still good. I just think that the Sharkies came down there with I wouldn't say they wanted it more. You know what? I think it was a bigger game for the Sharkies, put it that way. I think the Sharkies were going down there almost treating it like a grand final. And I think the Storm, even though it was a big game for Storm, but just in those little moments where you need that extra want, they just didn't.
I just thought their attack looked clunky at times, completely, like rightly so, because they lost, you said, their 7 and their 1. Falogo is a star, but they were just on different pages at times, and they didn't really know how to utilise him and get him in positions for his one-on-ones.
And Pappenhausen is more of a ball player these days too, as well.
So like that'll come with Falogo and with his combination with Munster and with Tyron Wishart when Hughes comes back, but you could just tell like they'd go to use the ball and just all the timing was off, and rightly so. It doesn't happen in the space of one game. Like these are new combinations. That'll change, but they didn't get that right on the weekend.
I thought, like, aside from the the structure side of things and ball playing, I thought Wishart was outstanding.
Yeah, he had a crack.
Jeez, he has a crack every game, doesn't he?
Isn't he?
He's so good. So, yeah, look, in regards to the question still remains is like that explosive speed game that you see when the Broncos are at their best, when the Penrith are at their best. Even now, we've seen from the Sharkies. I'm getting closer to saying I reckon they'll solve that by the end of the year, but I think that is really the only question for the Storm.
Yeah.
When it comes to like that spine's still got it. That spine is still the most dangerous spine in the competition, in my opinion. And I think by the end of the year, they are going to be absolutely like red hot. I really do. I'm not too disappointed at all.
And I think Falogo, I think he'll explode at some point in coming weeks while Ryan Pappenhausen is out. It might only get about 4 weeks, but I think there's enough time there to do a lot of damage, and I think he can potentially win a starting wing role if he's up to it defensively for when, obviously, Coates is back, when Pappenhausen's back. It's just, I don't think you overcomplicate it with Falogo. We saw what he did last week, one-on-one off a scrum, that freakish try he scored. They just didn't give him early ball. They didn't put him in sort of any space. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Just hit him early and let him do his thing.
Yeah.
Look, much like Brisbane do with Reece Walsh.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that they definitely missed Coates, as we talked about how important the Sharkies outside backs. Like Coates, he is their meter eater. Like out of all their outside back, he's their main momentum generator, and I do think that they really missed him. I gotta say Warbrick just hasn't had the best year this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's why I say I think Falogo could
win that spot.
hold that wing spot.
Because like if you're at Warbrick, you're a big boy. Let's say that everything's not working for you, a couple errors here or there. You gotta be getting up around the 150, 160 average meters a game, and he just hasn't seemed to be able to, I don't know, pull the trigger's the wrong word, but just get into the flow of things where, like what Coates was doing, taking those tough carries coming out of our own end, getting good momentum. I think they really missed Coates there.
Warbrick is almost like where Coates was 2 years ago.
Yeah, good point. Really good point.
Just still developing as a relatively young winger in the game.
But I'm still very confident. Storm at full strength, I think they're going to be there in the business end of the season doing some damage.
Yeah. Well, yeah, still unconvinced as to whether they'll have the pack to beat Broncos, Panthers come finals.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's, when I say do some damage, I mean you're sitting there and you're going, okay, the Panthers are a top tier side, maybe the Sharkies or whatever, you have them in that bracket.
Yeah.
It's just like anything. So if the Storm's Achilles heel is the question on their forward pack, then the Broncos is, can they friggin' hold the ball? The Panthers is, do they have an Achilles heel? Not really. Sharkies is it their big game? I think the only question Storm facing are, can that forward pack take that next step? At the moment, I reckon they will.
Yeah.
I reckon
they can win a comp.
I think that they will be a premiership threat by the end of the season. I really do. I got a good feeling about them.